You ever notice how some people just drain you? Not in any obvious way. They're not attacking you. They're not being cruel. In fact, they might be perfectly pleasant, perfectly polite, but after spending time with them, you feel exhausted, depleted, like someone reached inside your chest and turned down the dimmer switch on your life force. And here's the strange part. You can't quite explain why. They didn't do anything wrong. Nothing you could point to and say, that right there, that's what tired me out. No, it's subtler than that. Much subtler. It's like trying to explain why a room feels wrong even though all the furniture is in the right place. Most people brush this off. They tell themselves they're just tired, just stressed, just imagining things. They grab another coffee, scroll through their phone, and push the feeling down. But you know better, don't you? You know that what you're experiencing is real. That exhaustion isn't coming from nowhere. It's not random. It's not in your head. There's something happening in these encounters that most people never recognize. A transaction taking place beneath the surface of conversation, underneath the pleasantries and small talk. An exchange of energy so subtle, so normalized, that we've learned to accept it as just the way things are. But what if I told you that this tiredness isn't really about tiredness at all? What if the exhaustion you feel around certain people is actually your own life force being redirected, rerouted, hijacked, not by choice, not consciously, but systematically, automatically, like a program running in the background that you never agreed to install? See, we've been taught to think about relationships in terms of compatibility. Do we get along? Do we have things in common? Do they make us laugh? But we've completely missed the most fundamental question. What is actually happening energetically when two people interact? And I mean really happening, not the surface story, not the social script, but the invisible architecture of the exchange itself. Let me paint you a picture. You're talking to someone. Maybe it's a friend, a coworker, a family member. And as they speak, you start to notice something. They're not really there with you. Oh, they're making eye contact. They're nodding. They're saying the right words. But there's a quality missing. A presence that should be there but isn't. Instead, you sense this hunger, this reaching, like they're trying to extract something from you. Validation, perhaps, agreement, attention, energy. It's as if every word they speak, every gesture they make, has a hook in it. And that hook is aimed at you. Now here's what's fascinating. They're probably not doing this consciously. In fact, if you pointed it out, they'd be genuinely confused, maybe even hurt, because they've been doing this their whole lives. They learned it so early, so thoroughly, that they don't even know there's another way to be. What they're doing is performing, and they need you to be their audience. Think about it. When you're with these people, do you ever feel like you can just exist? Or do you feel like you have to be something? Do you have to mirror their mood, validate their story, confirm their worldview, react in the way they need you to react? There's a script running, isn't there? An invisible script that says, I will present myself to you in this particular way, and you will respond by giving me the confirmation that I am who I say I am. This is the trap. This is where your energy goes, because maintaining a false self, a performed self, takes an enormous amount of energy. It's like running a computer program that's constantly rendering a three-dimensional image. The processor is always working, always generating, always maintaining the illusion. And that energy has to come from somewhere. When someone hasn't learned to simply be themselves, when they're constantly performing, constantly projecting an image, They become like a power plant with a leak. They're generating energy, sure, but they're not able to hold it, use it, sustain themselves with it. So they have to draw from somewhere else, from someone else, from you. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about blame. This isn't about making anyone the villain in your story. These people aren't evil. They're not trying to harm you. They're doing the only thing they know how to do. They're running the only program they were taught to run. But that doesn't mean you have to keep paying the energy bill for their performance. Here's what's really happening. When you're around these people, you're being asked wordlessly, invisibly, to participate in the maintenance of their false identity, to be a mirror that reflects back the image they wanted to see, to be a fuel source for their exhausting project of being someone other than who they are. And because most of us are kind because we were taught to be accommodating, because we don't want to seem rude or selfish or cold, we do it. We give them what they're reaching for. We nod. We agree. We validate. We feed the performance. But every time we do this, we're abandoning ourselves. We're redirecting our life force away from our own center, our own truth, our own presence, and channeling it into the support of someone else's illusion. Is it any wonder we feel tired? Now let's go deeper, because this isn't just about individual encounters with draining people. This is about something much more fundamental, something that goes to the heart of what it means to be human in the modern world. We live in a culture of performance. From the moment we're born, we're taught that who we are isn't quite enough. We need to be smarter, prettier, more successful, more likable, more something. We need to project an image, build a brand, curate a self. And so we learn to split ourselves in two. There's the real you, the one that actually experiences life, that feels and thinks and exists. And then there's the performed you, the one you present to the world, the one you've carefully constructed to be acceptable, impressive, safe. The gap between these two cells, that's where your energy goes. That gap is a black hole, constantly consuming life force to maintain the illusion of coherence. Some people have a small gap. They're relatively authentic. Being around them feels easy because they're not asking you to participate in any elaborate pretense. They just are what they are, and you can just be what you are. The exchange is balanced, natural, effortless. But other people, the gap is vast. The performed self is so far from the real self that maintaining it requires constant, intensive effort, and that effort demands fuel. Lots of it. From everywhere. From everyone. Here's the cosmic joke. The more someone tries to be someone, the less of themselves they actually become. The harder they work at the performance, the more exhausted they get. And the more exhausted they get, the more they need to draw from others. It's a vicious cycle. An Ouroboros of energy drain. And the tragedy? The absolute tragedy? The thing they're performing, the image they're working so hard to project, isn't even what they actually want. It's what they think they're supposed to want. What they've been told to want. What the culture, the family, the society around them has programmed them to want. They're exhausting themselves and exhausting you in service of an idea of themselves that was never really theirs to begin with. But here's where it gets really interesting. Stay with me now. When you feel tired around someone, that tiredness is actually information. It's your system telling you something crucial. There's an imbalance here, an energy leak, a place where you're giving more than is natural, more than is sustainable, more than is true. Your body knows, your nervous system knows. That fatigue you feel isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's your deeper intelligence saying, something is wrong here. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Because when you're truly connected to someone, when you're both present, both authentic, both simply existing without the burden of performance, something miraculous happens. Instead of being drained, you're energized. Instead of feeling tired, you feel more alive. The exchange becomes generative rather than extractive. This is what real connection looks like. Not two performances validating each other, not two false selves propping each other up, but two presences meeting, two actual beings recognizing each other across the void. And in that recognition, in that simple being with rather than performing for, energy flows naturally. It doesn't drain, it doesn't deplete. It circulates, it amplifies. Two flames don't diminish each other. They illuminate more space together than either could alone. But this kind of connection, it's rare, uncomfortably rare, because it requires something most people are terrified of: the willingness to drop the performance, to let the image fall away, to stop trying to be someone and simply be. And that's terrifying because we've been taught that if we're not performing, if we're not projecting that carefully constructed image, people will see who we really are. And who we really are, we've been told, isn't good enough. But here's the truth that nobody tells you. Who you really are is the only thing that's actually interesting. The performance? Everyone's seen it. Everyone's tired of it, including you. The real you? The one underneath all the layers of should and must and have to. That's the one people are hungry for. That's the one that doesn't drain anyone because it doesn't need anything from anyone. It just is. So what do you do with this understanding? How do you navigate a world full of people who are still stuck in the performance, still running on the hamster wheel of false identity, still reaching and grasping and draining? First, you have to give yourself permission to notice, to feel what you're actually feeling without immediately trying to fix it or explain it away or make it okay. When you're tired around someone, you're tired. That's data. That's truth. Honor it. Second, you have to understand that you're not responsible for maintaining other people's illusions. You're not obligated to be their mirror, their fuel source, their validation machine. You can love someone, care about someone, even want the best for them, without sacrificing your own life force to sustain their performance. This might sound selfish. We've been trained to think it's selfish, but it's not. Real selfishness is demanding that others exhaust themselves to maintain your false image. Real kindness is refusing to participate in that transaction. When you stop feeding someone's performance, one of two things happens. Either they get upset because you're no longer playing the role they need you to play, or they start to wake up. They start to realize that the performance isn't working anymore, that maybe, just maybe, there's another way to be. You can't control which one happens. That's their journey, not yours. But here's what you can control: your own presence, your own authenticity, your own willingness to simply be rather than perform. And this is where the real transformation happens. Because when you stop performing yourself, when you stop trying to be someone and just allow yourself to exist, something shifts in the field around you. You become what I call an authenticity anchor. People feel it. They might not be able to name it. They might not even consciously recognize it. But at some level, they sense that there's a different quality to you, that you're not playing the game, that you're not reaching for anything, that you're just here. And for some people, that's deeply unsettling. They'll avoid you. They'll find you difficult or strange or too intense, because your presence reminds them of what they've abandoned in themselves. It holds up a mirror they're not ready to look into. But for others, for those who are tired of the performance, tired of the pretense, tired of being tired, Your presence becomes a permission slip, a living demonstration that there's another way, that it's possible to exist without the exhausting burden of constant self-presentation. You become proof that the cage door is open. Now, does this mean you'll never feel tired around anyone again? No. You're human. You're still affected by the energy around you. But the quality of the tiredness changes. It becomes less about being drained and more about simply witnessing the exhaustion of others. You feel compassion rather than depletion, and you develop discernment. You start to recognize very quickly who is present and who is performing, who is authentic and who is extracting, who nourishes and who drains. This discernment isn't judgment. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone. It's about being honest, about seeing clearly, about protecting your own life force so you can actually be of service in the world rather than just another exhausted person stumbling through their days. So here we are. You now know what's been happening all those times you felt inexplicably tired after certain encounters. You understand the mechanism, the performance, the energy drain, the invisible transaction you never agreed to. The question is, what now? Let me tell you something. You can't save people from their performances. You can't force them to be authentic. You can't make them see what they're not ready to see. All you can do is stop participating in the illusion. Stop feeding it. Stop enabling it. And that starts with you being willing to drop your own performance. Because if you're honest, really honest, you're probably running one too. Maybe not as intensive as others. Maybe not as draining. But somewhere, somehow, you're still trying to be someone rather than simply being. We all are. It's the air we breathe in this culture, the water we swim in. But you have a choice. In every moment, in every encounter, in every relationship, you have a choice. You can show up as a performance, carefully managed and controlled, reaching and grasping for validation. Or you can show up as a presence, simply existing, simply being, simply here. One path leads to exhaustion. The other leads to life. And when you choose presence, when you choose authenticity, when you choose to simply be, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. You become a crack in the facade, a glitch in the matrix, a reminder that there's something real underneath all the pretense. Some people will hate you for it. Let them. Their discomfort isn't your responsibility. But others? Others will breathe a sigh of relief so deep they might not even realize they've been holding their breath their entire lives. You want to know the secret to not feeling tired around people? Stop trying to be someone for them. Stop managing their perception of you. Stop performing. Just exist. Just be. Just here. Just now. And if someone can't handle that, if they need you to perform, if they need you to feed their illusion, then they're showing you something important. They're not your people. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And that's okay. You don't need everyone. You just need the ones who can meet you in truth. The ones who don't need anything from you except your honest presence. The ones who energize rather than drain because they're not asking you to be anything other than what you are. Those people exist. They're out there. And the more you embody your own authenticity, the more they'll find you. Or you'll find them. Same thing, really. So here's my invitation to you. The next time you feel tired around someone, don't ignore it. Don't push through it. Don't tell yourself it's not real. Feel it. Notice it. Let it tell you what it's trying to tell you. And then make a choice, a conscious choice. Do I want to keep participating in this? Do I want to keep feeding this performance? Or am I ready to simply be? The answer will come. Not from your head, not from what you think you should do, but from somewhere deeper, somewhere true. Listen to that voice. Trust it. Follow it. Because your life force is precious, your energy is finite, and you get to choose where it goes, who receives it, what you create with it. You've always had this choice. You've always been free. You just forgot. And now you're starting to remember.